This is another terms and definitions video. We're going to be focusing on terms and definitions related to solutions. So remember, solutions is when you mix two or more matter together, but it appears as if it is a pure substance, one matter. So dissolve. Dissolve is mixing one or more matter together and to create a solution. Solvent and solute. So solvent is the larger amount of matter that you have that you are adding a solute to. So if we're thinking about dissolving sugar in water, the water would be the larger amount of matter that we have. It would be the solvent. The solute is what you are adding to the solvent in hopes of dissolving to create that solution. So in our example, the solvent would be the water and the sugar would be the solute. Soluble, insoluble. Soluble, this describes how well the solute can dissolve in the solvent. So something is soluble when a solute is soluble when it completely dissolves in a solvent to create a solution. It is insoluble if it cannot completely dissolve in the solvent, and so you can see that separation in matter. So you might see things floating. You know, maybe it doesn't mix completely at all. If you imagine instead of sugar and water, rocks and water. So no matter how many times we shake it, we're still being able to see that separation in matter. So rocks would be insoluble in water. The next is a concentrated solution. So when we are adding solutes to solvents, there's a different level of concentration. So when we add a high level of solute to a solvent, it's a concentrated solution. And I illustrated it here. So you have the solvent and the solute, and the particles are pretty equal. So there's a lot of solute that's been added. A dilute solution is the opposite, where it's still a solution, but there's less solute that's been added. So, you know, the solvent is represented by the purple and the orange represents the solute. So this solution is less concentrated than this solution. When we are calculating concentration, we calculate the mass of the solute divided by the, mass of solute by volume of solution. So that's a rate, right? It's usually done out of 100 mils. So if I was, adding sugar to water, I would say the concentration is 3 grams per 100 milliliters. So if I was doing 500 milliliters, I would multiply, the 100 by 5 and the 3 by 5. So I would need 15 grams of sugar for 500 milliliters to maintain the same concentration. If this rate changes, then its concentration changes as well. Saturated solution, unsaturated solution. So a saturated solution is where you have the maximum amount of solute in a solvent. So there gets to a point where the solvent can't take in any more solute and be a solution. So there's a saturation point where you've added so much sugar and then eventually it stops dissolving and the sugar particles, you can still see them. So then it's no longer a solution, it becomes a mechanical mixture. So that would be a saturated. An unsaturated solution is one where there's still room for more solute to be dissolved. So, and that has to do with concentration. This would have a high concentration and this would have a dilute concentration. And then solubility. It's measuring of how much, that's the difference between these two, where you're measuring how much of one solute can go into a solvent. So you're finding, its solubility or the saturation point of the solvent.